Hello, welcome to another Wild Edibles episode where today we're going to be hunting for something truly special, shagbark hickory nuts. These are a relative of the pecan, and honestly, they are better in my opinion, and I really like pecans. In this video, I'll be showing you how to find these, as well as how to figure out which ones are worth your time in the field. First, to find shagbark hickory nuts, you'll need to find a shagbark hickory tree. Now, other hickory nuts are edible. However, this is widely regarded as the one that tastes the best. It's also one of the easiest to identify. I don't know of many trees where the bark will sort of shear off like this. As for the leaves, they generally come in this pattern, though there should be a fifth right here. They are very large and oblong ovals with a point. Now, these hickory nuts are heavy, so they generally don't fall far from the tree, so that's where you'll want to look around. And what you want to be looking for is either loose ones like this, in which case you will see a pale coloration. Especially on wet days like this, it is really easy to spot them. Other times you'll find them either completely or partially stuck inside their outer husk. These outer husks are usually anywhere from bright green to brown, and especially on wet days, the inner seed can be a little wet and slimy. Oftentimes this sliminess is accompanied by discoloration. I'd say pay no mind to that, because there's a really quick and easy way to determine which ones are good and which ones are not, all at once and often in the field. As with all wild edibles, it's a judgment call, and if you don't want it, there's usually something that does. At any rate, these are all going to be washed and dry cured, and it's not like you're eating the shell, so any discoloration is going to be cosmetic. What you do want to pay attention to is if there are any holes. That's a very clear indicator that this is no good. Now, once you've collected enough to your liking, there's a test that you can do to see which ones are filled with delicious hickory nuts and which ones are duds. And that is the water test. The real reason it pays to do this on a day where the forest is a little flooded. You take a handful and you drop them into the water. Any that float are absolute duds. These things are naturally heavy, and the only reason they would be less dense than water is if something was wrong. As far as I know, this is due to air that's trapped within the seed, and this is usually an indication that either something else got to it or it never fully developed. As far as I know, even the ones that sink may eventually end up being duds, simply due to the fact of how heavy these are supposed to be naturally. But at least we've gotten rid of the ones that are very clearly bad, and we can also use this time to sort of wash them off of any of that slime that may have been present. In general, you should expect a quarter to a half of the ones you collect to end up being duds. This test is actually generally applicable for a lot of nuts and seeds, and it's even really good for removing husks and other detritus from ones where it can be really difficult to remove those otherwise, such as grains and dock seeds. And sometimes you'll find that nature will even do the water test for you. Those look like two decent ones right there. Once you've brought them home, it's always a good idea to give them a more thorough rinse in some potable tap water. And I also use this time to really figure out which ones I want to keep. If it's looking like it might be on the cusp of floating, then I'll probably toss it as well. Sus. These two ended up being a little too bouncy, and considering that they're supposed to sink like a rock, they did seem out of place enough that I'm going to toss them. Even if they're good, well, squirrels gotta eat too. And speaking of squirrels, you're going to want to find a place to cure these indoors for at least 2 weeks. Could be the garage, but it has to be indoors, otherwise these squirrels will find these and they will eat them all. Although it doesn't necessarily have to be somewhere out of the way. These are some that I harvested earlier, actually a little over 2 weeks ago now, and we just have these sitting in the living room. They are quite decorative. It's generally a good idea to keep harvests separate at first, since these are basically done and these need 2 weeks to sort of dry out. Although once the 2 weeks is up for these, I'll probably store them all in the same place, simply because it's just more convenient and they'll all keep in that way. I could probably roast these and eat them right now, but it's best to play it safe considering that this is pretty much the only harvest I'm going to get this year. Not to mention that these will keep throughout the winter, so traditionally, that's a very good thing. There's a reason that nutcrackers are a Christmas thing. Well, that's about it for today. If you're watching this in the future and part 2 is available, it should be on screen now for you to watch if you so desire. Anyway, I do hope you've learned something, enjoyed, and as always, I wish you the best. Till next time.